Why did that feeling of fulfillment and wholeness fade away? Or in other words, why did you come back to normal reality? Now, I'm going to quickly go back into a brief understanding of what that experience was. Two parts to it. Number one, the ego, the inner critic, the part of you that attaches itself to an identity, basically dissolved in that moment. It might have dissolved, it might have shattered, it might have been moved to like its rightful position within your system, so on and so forth, depending on how you tapped into that space of fulfillment and wholeness. But regardless, it went quiet. It was no longer in control. And that's a very important part of that, because what that then allowed was for your true essence to basically come out. And that's the second part of what you experienced, which was the seeds of there is something more, there is something special, there is something alive, there is something wonderful, there's something magical, there's a secret to life. That truthful belief that you've always carried, consciously or not, basically sprouted in that moment. You got to touch it, you got to experience it, you got proof of it. And you basically stepped into alignment or in frequency with your truest self, your essence, the piece of source in you, what you really are underneath the ego, underneath identity. So why did that feeling fade away? This is a very important part of it, because basically there are two ways to get to that state. Number one, by being catapulted into it. And that might have been how you touched into that space. So this would be any type of intense situation that almost forces the ego into dissolution, into shattering, into like getting out of the way. And that could be, psychedelic drugs, that could be intense practices within spiritual ideologies or things like that. Things that you weren't necessarily ready for, but for some reason did anyway. You'll understand what I mean by ready for in a bit. But basically you were catapulted. If you were to imagine awakening, or that real space of fulfillment and surrender, almost as like a wall or a barrier that you eventually come to in your journey, wherever you were in your journey, you basically got fucking flung over that wall. You got completely smashed through that wall into fulfillment, into awakening or dissolution of the ego, and surrender into alignment with source and your true essence, etc. Now the problem with that is, if you have not built your internal and potentially external state to be able to fully hold that and integrate that, then you basically get flung back. You can almost imagine it like an elastic band, where it's like if you get flung into that space, but the band isn't sort of stretched enough or loose enough, then it's going to fling you right back. Now, even though it flings you back, you're not going to be at the same state as what you once were. But basically what happens is your ego rebuilds itself. And then in that same way, you have the resistances, mind and body, that was stopping you from living from that state previously, limiting beliefs, fears, etc., etc. And a byproduct of that might be that as you come back from that experience, it almost creates a trauma. So your mind will start viewing that moment as, and whatever was associated with that moment, as something to be feared. Because ultimately, it's a threat to your ego, because what happens, your ego dissolves, or it moves to its rightful place. It is no longer in control. So if you get catapulted and then you come back because your ego rebuilds itself, it comes back to sort of normal life, quote unquote, it will start to view that situation as danger. It'll start to view pure presence, it'll start to view pure surrender as something bad. Especially if it rebuilds itself, because then it looks back on that and it was like, wait, that's when I, the ego, shattered, died, moved out of my throne. Therefore, I don't like that. Or that is like scary to me now. So in a simple sense, that's why it faded. You basically were not systematically ready for that experience. But this is where it becomes beautiful, is that, and especially in my experience, I viewed it as a peek behind the curtain. It proved to me that that state was real, that feeling, that idea of pure fulfillment and wholeness that I'd been searching for my entire life, consciously or unconsciously. Maybe searching for is the wrong word, but that I was pulled towards, that I deep down knew was real, that I just didn't have proof yet. It was now confirmed for me. And now it's about basically, as I said, building that internal structure, that internal ability to hold that alignment, that frequency, that expansiveness in the world, in you. And that's a topic I'll go into in another video. But basically your nervous system, your environment, because that plays a part, and your internal structures and belief systems and so on and so forth was not yet ready to hold that experience, that alignment fully or for long periods of time. So just quickly, what would it look like otherwise, right? What is the second way that you can make it back to that space? In a very simple way, I'll go into much more depth in this in other videos, but in a very simple way, it's about expanding, number one, your nervous system's capacity to hold that. And when I mean that, I mean, number one, your ego has to basically feel safe enough to let go of its control. So it becomes an active or a conscious, I'm allowing myself to let go, to move out of this space of like, I am in control, I am, the one that is running things, aka the ego. And number two, you then have to also build the capacity and a comfort with the frequency and the feeling of what it is like to surrender into source, into that feeling of pure fulfillment and wholeness. Letting go in the sense of trusting that there is a greater path, a greater energy, a greater thing that is guiding, that is allowing things to happen the way they're meant to. And so basically both of those aspects or parts is a gradual building of internal trust and safety so that you can ultimately allow, let go, surrender consciously with awareness. And as you do, you can almost imagine it, if I bring it back to that analogy of the wall, instead of being thrown over and then being flung back, you are gradually moving through it by choice. And when you do that, you can't go back. You basically stretch the elastic band to the point where its length of movement is more. So it doesn't pull you back next time. Once you step through that barrier, that wall, the final letting go or surrender or allowing, you permanently move through it. And that's usually what they call like awakening, but there's an extra aspect of it, as I said, which is surrender. And they're almost like two of the same wall, if you want to call it that. So I hope that helps you understand it a bit better. If you have any questions, thoughts, or feelings, drop them in the comments. Subscribe to my channel if you want to understand more about the space of fulfillment and wholeness and how to get back. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.